I try not to get swept up in the Twitter outrage machine, but I am interested in your take on the state of the industry at current and what it might mean for artists. Well, I think it's very healthy of you to not get swept up in the Twitter outrage machine. I also try not to get swept up in it. However, I also know that I love drama and I love to talk about drama. So I would love to talk about that. Okay. So yeah, AI, NFTs, all that stuff. Gosh, sorry, it's been a little while since I've actually talked about this stuff. Yeah, shit's fucked, guys. I don't know. Yeah, I think it's definitely theft. I think there is potentially an ethical way of handling it. But at the same time, I think that whenever something like this has happened, whenever there's like a technological development in this way, like you can't reel it back, right? Like you can try and put constraints on it, and shackles, and that's probably what's going to end up happening, is that right now it's just kind of this Wild West where it's like everything's okay, until government gets involved, and until enough people sort of get together and talk about like why this is not okay. But it's not like the technology is going to be like shoved back into, you know, the genie was let out of the bottle and it's just going to exist now. But it's in what form is it going to exist? And that's scary for a lot of people because the fact is that this industry is built so much on technical skill. There's a lot that is involved with the creative aspect of concepting, creating new, fresh ideas. What AI does, because AI can do things very well, and I think this is why I try to talk about it in this way. I'm just going to go on a full rant, sorry. This is why I try to talk about it this way, because I feel like artists right now are very scared and very nervous about the outcomes of AI, that they don't really discuss the nuance of like, what is this technology? What does it do well? What can we do better? And how can we like use it if it exists? Because artists that are commercial artists are not the same as independent artists, or artists that are making art for art's sake. We never have been. Anyone that wants to get into commercial art, we have always been tasked with gaining the sort of level of technical skill and execution that we can create something for the purpose of a larger scale project, right? Art for art's sake, though, is so much deeper than that, and that gets into a lot of, you know, philosophical ideas of what art is. AI is not that, right? Like, AI is design without intent. And design without intent, you still have things that are visually appealing. And a lot of people make fun of that. Like, a lot of people poke fun at AI because, like, oh, like there's too many fingers, you know, it doesn't know how to do hands, and everything looks generic and stuff. And it's like, I think a lot of that stuff is still valid, but the fact is that it's like an ink blot almost, right? Like, it's you can get so many interesting visuals out of it, and utilize it in that way. I'm not saying everyone has to, and that needs to be part of anyone's workflow, in the same way that, like, I don't think 3D ended up coming into the industry and forcing every 2D artist to suddenly do 3D. Like, I don't think that's the case. But I do think that I think that there's more to AI than people are like giving it credit, and I think it's scary. But if we're to be realistic about what our industry is, as like what our job is as commercial artists, is like we're tasked with creating visuals that benefit a larger project. A larger project, generally, its purpose is to make money. And in order to make money, it helps to be able to generate the thing for the cheapest amount of money. And if this is something that generates more ideas for less costs, then it's going to be implemented. And I think that, like, people can be upset by that, but I think that that's just going to exist. That's always been the case. That's always going to be the case. it doesn't mean that there can't still be people that do that. Like, as a good example, there's still 2D animation, claymation, etc. in our industry, even though those things are like wildly more expensive than if they were to just do it with 3D animation. And people still do that because, like, even though it's technically more expensive and it's much harder to execute on, you still get a particular visual flavor with doing that. So this is actually the flip side of AI, that I think the outcome of AI that's going to end up happening, which, if there's any positive side of this, so there's definitely going to be restraints. Like I said, there's going to be limitations on AI, but the technology's out. It's there. It's going to exist. The ethical way of handling AI, in my opinion, is AI corporations should reach out to artists that they want in their database and offer them royalties for the usage. I think that's the most ethical way you could do it. An artist would, it's not an opt-out, it's an opt-in. The AI companies could then pick the, best artists. They would even be able to pay them more if their image is used more often. And it could be on a per image basis. So an artist wouldn't just give their entire gallery away, but they would give each individual thing away. The problem is that, it's literally like a fraction of a penny that you'd probably be getting for every time something's generated. But, and I think that would make the AI companies a lot less money. I mean, here's the thing. There's so many artists out there, like so many artists that are very good and do not make a lot of money. And I do have a feeling like they would basically, they'd say yes, like I'll accept royalties for the use of my work in this AI machine. Yeah, they would go bankrupt, which is why they probably won't do it. And as far as illustrations go, yes, illustrators, in all honesty, illustrators are in a scary spot. This is probably the most like doomsday I will sound. Illustration is the highest technical skill required in the industry. And it is what AI replicates best. Because illustration is, if AI gets to the point that it can basically take an existing character design and put it within a series of multiple illustrations, that's going to be a scary place for it to be at. So far, as I can tell, it can't do that, or it can't get like on model, like what illustrators can do. You're also kind of hoping that you're going to land on a place in an illustration that you're happy with, that the character is in. Chances are what AI will be used for illustration is for compositional, like thumbnail ideas, or color and light passes and stuff. I thought it's the concept artist that would be more doomed, since AI is decent at generating work that gives the impression of looking good, but not so much that you'd put it in the box or something. So, technically, if a project is doing concept art in the way that it should be doing concept art, then I don't think concept artists should be in trouble. The problem is, sorry if this is getting into territory people don't feel comfortable talking about, but the fact is that it's very capitalistic. Capitalism is essentially like what ends up pushing companies to do the things that they end up doing. And so because of that, what ends up happening is concept art, the way that it should be handled is it should be designed with intention. It's designing something not just because it looks aesthetically pleasing or is an interesting or cool thing to see in this moment, but because it builds towards the greater story of a project. But what a lot of projects do, and I mean a lot of projects, they do concept art in a way that, you're right, I think AI is a great replacement for it, because it generates a lot of ideas that look aesthetically pleasing. And so that intention is not there, but if your goal is not what it should be, but instead is just, we just need an idea that looks cool, then yes, AI would be the replacement for that. I should say this. I don't think AI has made such a huge impact in the industry yet that it's not worth still pursuing all the same jobs. But I do think, like I said, I think AI is going to push artists to look inwards and figure out what it is that they like, what it is that they want to do, the type of art that they like. I actually think it's going to push a lot more independent artists than ever before. Independent art was already blowing up or getting more popular because of the accessibility of marketing yourself. And I think it's only going to grow at this point. And then there will be more independent artists that are going to create their own styles that then will be stolen by someone online to work on a greater project, and then they will, create a generic version of it through AI somehow. And the cycle will continue.